Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Trash Talking and Giving Back podcast. I am Erin-Coiffel-Barker, joined by my lovely co-host, Joe Sinagra, who is the operations manager over at Myers. Joe, so excited for this week's show. In a little bit, we'll be joined by Mike Billado, who is a race car driver down at Thunder Road, driving the Myers car. But before we get to him, as I always ask, how was your week? Anything exciting going on?
Yeah, it was a good week, and it got me thinking with our guest this week driving a race car. I'm a super competitive guy by nature, but I don't have any wonderful talents like driving a race car or diving off of high dives. And I got thinking about this Olympic sprinter who was at her daughter's field days, and they had a parent contest for all the parents, which in itself is pretty wild to think about at a kid's field day to have these activities and have parents competing against each other, which would be very cool. And it got me thinking about, and we can ask Mike when he comes in as a professional driver, how competitive he is when he's not on the track. But it got me to think, Erin, how would you interact with that, both as at a field day, but more importantly, you take your kids to the community pool in Essex or something like that, and I know how I would be watching these people if I could dive, watching these people dive, because they do at, Memorial. If you're there saying, hold on, let me show you.
So it's actually an interesting question, because I feel like the older I get, the harder it is to act like I can still do it, right? So I dove in college, which is where this is coming from Joe, and like you, I am very competitive. I think my parents used to sign us up for every single sport growing up instead of having babysitters, which is what made the whole Darren Aaron segment we did here locally in Burlington so much fun, because I'm okay at a lot of things, but was pretty good at diving and gymnastics. But it's not like soccer where it's oh yeah, I have muscle memory, can kick the ball around. Diving, it's for starters, I've had 2 children, so I'm not in the same shape I was at, 19, 20 years old. But I usually will, and I have gotten up and will do what feels very basic to me, but it still is kind of impressive to others. But sometimes I don't know. It depends on the crowd. And I'm sure when Jack gets older, my 3-year-old, he'll be like, Mom, stop. But
I would think if I had that talent, whatever that might be, I would think I can still do it, because of course, I'm in my 40s and I think I'm 20. So I think I would go up there and be like, oh, watch this, and then end up really hurting myself.
Well, I think that's the fear. If I'm oh yeah, here I go. I'm going to go and do a 1.5 real quick. But then I come out at the wrong time just because it's been so long, and I my muscle memory forgot when to do it. And then I just belly flop, and then you're just so embarrassed. So I feel that would deter me a little bit.
That's the lead in. So, okay, so you go and dive, and the worst thing would be is that you hurt yourself or you make a fool of yourself, which is, it's fine. But we'll ask Mike, but a professional driver, I could see, because I get fired up on the road, I could see yeah, really? Let me show you.
The guy he's at a red light with someone, and the guy next to him's revving his engine, and it's dude, do you know who you're next to?
Well, it's that scene from Days of Thunder, where Tom Cruise is racing against what is it, Val Kilmer in the wheelchairs in the hospital. Tell me you've never seen Days of Thunder. Oh my God. Okay. Well, there's a whole nother episode that we can do of stuff to.
I'll watch it.
Before Tom Cruise went way off the deep end, Days of Thunder, great racing movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to watch. Well, let's ask Mike. I wonder, it's going to be awkward for you, Joe, if Mike hasn't seen it either. But we are joined by Mike Billado, who works for Myers, drives the Myers car, is a race car driver, which is super cool. Mike, have you seen this movie Joe is talking about?
Many, many, many times. My wife probably does too much.
Okay.
Yeah, they always say it's where Tom Cruise fell in love with Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman now married to Keith Urban, but she used to.
Yeah, well, that was Nicole Kidman before Katie Holmes.
Oh yeah. This is Days of Thunder came out 80, probably the year you're born, frankly, 84, 85, 86, in that ballpark.
Yeah, around 80.
You know what? I bet you my dad used to race snowmobiles, fun fact. So I bet you he's like a power sports guy. So I bet you if I ask him about it, he'll probably be like, we used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Mike, though, let's get into it with you with what we were just talking about. If you are at the red light and someone's like, edging up next to you thinking they're going to beat you off the line, does that just like gut instinct kick in?
All the time, even at my age now, at this point in time in life, my wife says I'm too instigated on doing stuff like that. And, at my age, I shouldn't be doing that.
No, you're allowed. You're allowed. Speaking of though, let's say at your age, I'm sure there's a lot of young bucks down at Thunder Road, but you have been racing. Give me your kind of history on the racing. How long have you been racing? I know it's been the Myers car for a while now. Kind of tell me how that all works.
Back in 2008, I was shown an interest. I helped out on other cars with other people, just helping out here and there, nothing big. But I always wanted to do something because I've always been an avid fan of watching the racing. So at some point in time, I came into a little extra money and stuff, and I said, well, I guess I'm going to start racing. I don't know if that was my best choice in life at that point, but it is what it is.
Now, Mike, you've had some success over the years. So talk about some of those successes you've had on the track and where you see things going here in the future. The season is underway, so talk a little bit about that for us.
Yeah, we're a small team. It's just my brother and I. It's a very competitive division at Thunder Road. It's called the Tiger Sportsman Series, and it's a lot of family and friends that compete in that class. And, there's a lot of knowledgeable people down in the Bay Area that's been doing it all their life. So with my brother and I just doing what we're doing, we're there to have fun, be competitive, but there's a lot of big teams down there to compete with on a weekly basis. So it's kind of tough, but we enjoy going down there. We enjoy the people down there. Just the excitement of being at Thunder Road. It's got quite the history to it. So, it's something that we can do with our families and enjoy the time together.
I was going to say, so for, your team to be really you and your brother, how awesome is that? Are you guys close in age, far in age? Just obviously, I'd imagine you're pretty close especially once race season rolls around every year.
My brother's like a year younger than I am. I'm the oldest of three. I have a sister as well. And so he has an interest in the side of setting up the car, the technical sides and all that stuff. And I'm the one that gets to drive that and fund it. So.
Yeah. There you go. But then if things go wrong, you get to blame him?
Oh, that's a whole nother discussion on another week because it depends on our night. It all depends on whose fault it is. So it's a very quiet ride home some nights.
So you talk about, the funding of the team, and of course you're doing it because of your passion for the sport. But, Myers and the Red Can family has sponsored your car for a number of years. Talk a little bit about how that sponsorship works and what how important that is for your success to have a sponsor and to have a sponsor that you're not out there looking for a named sponsor every year.
Yeah, Myers has been certainly, Jeff and his family have been very supportive of this. When I got into it, I'd been into it for years because I owned my own business, and then Jeff had purchased my business, and I had said something to him, hey, you want to help out on a race car? And 13 years ago, he said yes, and he's committed every year and then some. And it's great to have that because you can put that money to good use to where you can get the right equipment, you can get the best equipment, so you can be competitive in this field. Like I said, you can't be off very much in this division because it's so competitive, and it just gets more competitive as the years grow because the younger generation comes in and us older guys are phasing out. So it's a little tough to keep up with those guys, but it's a passion, and we enjoy my time with my brother to do it. There's days that we do have great days and we have great success too. So, but it's hard on a weekly basis, but it does come. That's the gratification of it all.
I know the season, I think, just kind of recently began. For folks who've heard of Thunder Road, don't really know what it's all about. I know Thursday night is the big night, but what would someone who wants to come out to the racetrack need to know about Thursday nights at Thunder Road?
Just the spectacle of it all. Usually on the bigger weekends, like the beginning of the season, they have a big car show. They bring out the past champion. They do like a kind of a intro where they have bagpipes come in at the beginning of the season. We got rained out that weekend, but I'm sure they'll make it up. But it's the whole spectacle of it and the history of it. Like I said, the reason they race on Thursday nights is because back in the day, the granite quarry guys always get paid on Thursday night. So that was the best night to have races because they had money. So that's where that came from, just to give you a little bit of history on that end. But I think it's just the popularity's grown because it's actually a real fun environment to be around.
Now, we were talking before we came on about, the competition of, Darren diving and everything. Doesn't Thunder Road bring in a NASCAR driver once a year to race against guys on the track?
Yeah, usually.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Usually when they have a race at New Hampshire, we'll get a driver come up. In the past, Kyle Busch has come up. Tony Stewart's been here. I mean, there's been a couple of the NASCAR guys that come up, and they realize how tough this place is too. So they come in with equipment to set up for them, and they definitely find out how tough of a track it is.
Now, do they take it easy on you, or are you guys going after them? I'd be curious because if I'm on the track next to Tony Stewart, hey, here's my chance, or whichever one. Here's my chance to maybe rub them a little bit. What is it? It's not racing if it's not rubbing. Is that the line?
Well, yeah, but that's a different division.
I know that's not Thunder Road.
The division that they'll come in and drive is the late model sportsman division, which is a higher tier than mine. So I'm in the lower class. So they don't race in those cars, but they run in the late model sportsman competition. So those guys thoroughly enjoy seeing the NASCAR stars come in because, like I said, they want to go there. They want to race these guys just as hard as they can and show them what talent they do have here to race against that type of driver.
Speaking of drivers you race against, doesn't Governor Scott race out there sometimes, or he hasn't been? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he has had a limited schedule, but he has appeared. He runs in the late model division as well.
Okay.
I don't know what his schedule will be like this year as far as that, but I'm sure he'll make appearances at some of the bigger races or maybe a couple Thursday nights. We never know.
So Myers,
that's kind of fun. A lot of politicians are these like stuffy guys, but no, Governor Scott, he, was a racer and became the governor and knew the responsibilities that came with it, but still gets to go out there and do his passion here and again too. And I'm trying to think. My husband works for the state. I forget if he gets paid on Thursdays or Fridays.
So Mike, Myers sponsors the Triple Crown race that you're involved in, and they're talk a little bit for people who might not understand how the Triple Crown works and why the drivers always are striving to run well and win that series.
Yeah, on a weekly division race, we race 40 laps, and that's just what we run on a weekly Thursday night, our regular schedules. But the Myers Triple Crown Series is a special race that the three races are 75 lappers, so they're longer distance, more money, and more prestige to have the trophy at the end out of the three races. They accumulate the points separately, and that also counts as a weekly race, but those three will be done points-wise separately, so there'll be a separate crown for the title at the end of the year.
So how long does 40 laps take you? I mean, I'm thinking 40 laps, what's that, like?
All depends. If
20 minutes or an hour or 3 hours?
If it's a green flag and no cautions and no accidents and stuff like that, we can generally get it in 20, 25 minutes if it's a green to green. So if it's a wreck fest, then it takes a little bit longer.
And what's your top speed? What are you hitting on a lap?
Usually a good time's in the 13.9s around the track. That's what we strive for.
Oh, so what mile per hour?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah. I would estimate 60 to 70.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like 13.9. Are we what metric?
Aaron's like, I do that on the 5 corners.
Yeah.
I mean, that stretch of highway, that's 55. I have a hard time with that sometimes.
Yeah.
How many people are usually at Thunder Road? And I guess maybe that's something I maybe should have pulled a photo of. But I've always talked about wanting to go, and I need to just I need to go. Maybe Joe, maybe we can round up a crew and go, especially on one of the Myers Triple Crown nights. But how many people are out there on a Thursday night? That's decent weather. Let's give it that.
I think on a weekly division where it's just a weekly division, I think they get somewhere around 5,000. I'm not 100%. But on the bigger races, like when we do get a NASCAR driver, they've had up to 10,000.
Oh, wow.
But they've also introduced flow racing into the racetrack. They do televise it on weekly events, and you can buy subscription to it. And I'm hearing numbers up in they've told us anywhere from 25 to 30,000 people that can watch it throughout. Whoever's subscribed to flow racing, they do a ton of racing throughout the United States, and so you can subscribe to each track on their nightly events. So I guess that's been really popular lately.
That's
now,
really
Mike,
cool.
talk a little bit about, one of the things we're happy about is that you are also a driver, not a race car driver, but also a roll-off driver for the company. And, maybe talk a little bit about, you've been driving professionally, both from a trash truck and a race car for most of your adult life. So talk a little bit about what it means to drive a roll-off truck and the challenges and the things that go involved in your aspect of your career here with the Red Can family.
Driving wise, always trying to be alert because it's not your driving. You're always worried about the other guys, kind of like racing. So just focus on your skills. And I've always been proud of driving for myself in the past. And here is, just being aware of your situations all the time, and just, putting yourself in good situations.
I mean, how fast have we gotten that truck up to, the Myers truck?
I can't disclose that right here.
Do you guys have your names on the sides? Because I feel like yours should have a special sticker that's like caution, like race car driver, like don't mess with me.
No, identifying marks. I put my race car sticker in the back of my pickup truck, and I'll do something silly on the road. My wife's like, your name's on the back of the truck, right? I'm like, oh, how about that? Whoops.
So Erin always loves the stories about in the trash business, that funky thing I talked about in the past about, a person throwing over an engagement ring and stuff like that, putting you on the spot a little bit. But do you have any great trash stories, either Myers or old Greg's trucking days?
Oh, let me see. I know that we had to dump a truck one time for someone that was looking for some money. They had an envelope with some money in it. I think we had to dump it at a facility. I can't remember which facility we had to dump it at. I'm pretty sure it was maybe Myers, but they spent some time looking for it. They did eventually find it, but it was a sizable money.
I mean, well, at least the ring got found. The ring got found as well. So, thank goodness that that'd be a lot of work to have not the happy ending that is desired to get there.
Yep.
So we mentioned Darren Aaron's earlier. I just want to let you know, Mike, if you ever need an extra crew member, I did do a Darren Aaron with Governor Scott and AJ Allmendinger one time where we were changing tires. So I did it faster than Governor Scott did. I did elbow him out of the way, but I mean, I've got skills.
You're aggressive. That's good. We need that.
Yes. Very competitive over here.
My brother would love the help because he's like, you need to find me another crew member. Because, I'm kind of the driver and kind of walk away and let him do his thing. So he's like, I could use an extra crew member. I'm like, well, I'll work on that for you.
You know anybody that wants to do it for free, brother? Because you're welcome to bring them along.
That's what my brother says all the time. I'll get after about something. He goes, well, you don't pay me a whole lot, he says.
So,
I laugh because... Go ahead.
No, you go.
Well, I mentioned how my dad used to race snowmobiles, and it was the same exact dynamic, right? Him and his brother Jay, they're 2 years apart. J-Boy is the mechanic, and my dad was the racer. And so that's why I was like, so whose fault is it when things go wrong? Because that used to be the most common thing, is it was like, no, J-Boy didn't do the right thing. Or it was always, for the driver, it was always the mechanic's fault.
So,
Like,
Mike, obviously, you talked about how, you're not doing this for, when you win a race, you're not winning hundreds of thousands of dollars. And my guess is it's a losing proposition financially for you. So you do it for your love of the sport. What do you see as the future? Are you going to drive till, Tom Cruise says he's going to do his stunts till he's 100. So are you going to drive till you're 100 too?
my body says no, but the financial resources I have with Myers says yes. Like I said, it's very competitive, and I've got a younger daughter. Her boyfriend races this division as well, and he is very competitive. Him and I, if we go bowling, we're competing against each other to beat each other's score. Or if we do something around each other, and he's he's actually very good. He actually won the Myers Triple Crown last year, so he's very competitive.
Doesn't he know that he's going to have to ask for your hand in marriage sometime? So he needs to let you win if he wants you to say yes.
Family's family, but once you get his helmet on, he turns into a different element. So
Fair.
I give him grief sometimes. I'm like, well, he could have, and he just looks at me and giggles. So he is very competitive. So, which I'd have it no other way. So
Wonderful.
I like it.
Not wrecking me.
Joe, any other questions you have for Mike?
No, I just think, this whole concept of how this podcast started around Myers Container and, the Red Can family giving back. A lot of people see our red trucks and they see Mike and people like Mike out on the road, and they think at the end of the day we're just picking up trash, and we are. But, Jeff and Ken and Ryan have made it a passion to give back to the community. And one of it is, Vermont is such a special place because people like Mike are giving the rest of us entertainment. Mike's not making a living off a driving car. He loves to do it, and it's a passion. And so many people, tens of thousands of people are enjoying Thunder Road every year, in large part because of sponsors like Myers and others that are giving back. So, it's nice to see Mike doing that, and it's also nice from Myers that they will continue to support people, be it from, we've talked to Ronald McDonald in the past and charities like that, but also the non-charities, sponsorship things like, Thunder Road. It plays such a huge part, and Jeff has always talked so much about why that's so important from a community aspect.
Yeah, it's definitely something I appreciate very much, and he knows that. The support he's given me throughout the years, I'm really impressed that he's done it this long because, like I said, he don't really have to, but he appreciates what we do for him, and in return, he appreciates what he does for the community as well, because everybody sees everything on the road, and that's all. And with racing and stuff, just to identify with people and in the business, it's definitely a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Mike, thank you for taking the time today to join us here on the podcast and tell us a little bit more about driving the Myers car and Thunder Road and how it all works.
All right, great. I appreciate you letting me in on it.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Joe.
Thanks, guys.
What a cool fact though to learn why it was the Thursday night thing. What's your paycheck guilty pleasure? This was pre-kids, but there was a time when my husband would be like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Oh, like TJ Maxx," and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's payday." So
yeah,
that was like my go-to place is TJ Maxx or Home Goods on payday. What's your payday?
Yeah, well, pre-kids, of course, payday would come, and that would be our one going out week event for my wife and I, be it the movies or whatever it is. Then it was for my wife, TJ Maxx, Home Goods. Now it's Amazon, for her. That's, early in the morning, late at night. So it's that, we don't get alerts that packages are being delivered. We get alerts that we don't have a package and they want to know why.
I always say that. Sometimes I'm like, man, I feel like I've ordered a lot of things lately. I need to wait till all of them get delivered before I order something else.
It's just amazing. I mean, it could be a whole nother episode, but where we are in reality and life, when, you would order in the past, you would get the one thing, whatever it is. Now it seems like, I'm coming home and we're getting toothpaste delivered, and we're getting, everything is getting delivered. It's just amazing now.
I know, and I love to support local. It's sometimes though I will I'll be like, man, I drove by the store, 6 times today and forgot I needed paper plates. So you know what? It's 11:30 at night, but I'm just gonna order them real quick and they'll be here tomorrow. And now I don't have to go get them.
And a lot easier when the kids are little to order than
Yes.
loading them all up and going out.
Hey, but then watch this, circle back to the trash. All those Amazon boxes need to get recycled.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why, thankfully, we're out there every day picking up recycling.
I like it. All right. Anything else before we let everybody go for this week?
No, absolutely nothing at all. I think it's enjoying as we're growing and we're building this. More people are talking about it, which is great. It's important that people want to get it every week. They can like and subscribe to the weekly podcast so they get their alert about it. But it's fun and it's nice to learn. We're learning about these things, and all my 20 plus years here in Vermont, I didn't know some of these Thunder Road facts, so it's nice.
Well, and also though, can we just mention real quick how there have been promos running that your people have been seeing you on TV? How's it felt to feel like a little local celeb?
Well, yes, and it's fortunately last week I had a couple times I was on other networks about other issues going on in Vermont, and neighbors stopping me, and they give me that kind of weird look, and they're like, "I saw you on TV," and I'm like, "For which thing?" And so yes, and you're an old hand at this, Erin, on TV all the time, but still, it's a little weird when people come up to me and tell me they see me on TV.
Okay. I like it. Well, as Joe mentioned, make sure that you like and subscribe. So every time a new podcast gets uploaded, you have it right there at your fingertips to learn a little bit more, not only about Myers Waste and Recycle, but also some of the great organizations and communities that we have in our area.